So, I don't believe that I was on camera or had the camera on recording. So I'm going to recap what I've done, and I do apologize for that. And I promise you, ladies, that I will get better at this. So if you'll please just hang in there with me and have some patience, that'll be great. So, so what I did was I went on ahead and just dotted on the boots with baby duck, just one coat, and I just used a real small stylus for that. You can use the end of your liner or whatever your favorite dotting tool is. The boots are kind of little, so it's just, you know, real small. I think that that's all that I did, not on camera. So we're ready now to, oh, I put my pattern on. So we're ready now to put our shading on the umbrella. And that's going to be done with the Deco Art Americana Heritage Brick. That's going to be done with the Deco Art Americana Heritage Brick. So I'm going to get some of that on my palette. Give that a shake. Oh, I also dry brushed on the frog. I forgot. I dry brushed his stomach and his little fingers, arms, around here on his legs and his knees. And for that, I used citron green. So citron green is what I used for that. And then on his cheeks, I wanted his cheeks to really be bright. And so I did just a little bit mixture of some baby duck and citron green, just to really get some brightness on his cheeks. So now I'm coming in with the Heritage Brick, and I like to shade with a angle brush. And so that's what I'm going to be using. And whatever your favorite shading brush is. I've got a 3/4 angle here, 3/4 inch angle. And this is just a Moderna by Royal and Langnickel. It's just a inexpensive brush probably that I bought in a pack. But I like to use those sometimes. I want to get my paint. My brush is fairly wet for floating, and I want to really work my paint out. I don't want a real heavy float. This Heritage Brick is kind of a, well, as you can see, where we put it on the bottom of his boot and around the sole of this boot, is kind of a dark color. And so I don't want a real heavy float on that. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm on the tip of my angle and just coming around and putting those scallops to shade in that umbrella. I do have a little bit too much water right there. I can see it pooling, so I'm just going to mop that. Maybe mop a little bit over there where I started. And then I'll come over here on the other side of his head and just put those little scallops in. Just to kind of separate that this is the top of the umbrella from the bottom of the umbrella. So got those in there. I'm just reloading my brush a little bit here, and like I said, I'm walking that paint out. So now I don't really know the wires that hold the umbrella that really make the umbrella stand up. I'm going to shade those in. You can see my pattern lines there. I'm going to shade those in with this Heritage Brick as well. And those, you know, start up here at the top. And through the center and just come down. And I want to mop that just a little bit. Come down to the next one. Just shading to show that those are, because they don't really show, but you can always tell that they're there. So I wanted to just get a little shadow in there for those wires that actually stabilize the umbrella. And it's not perfect up here at the top. We're going to highlight that in a little bit with some coral blush. So I'm going to turn my piece so I can pull towards me on the other side here. And just reload my brush with some Heritage Brick. And again, I'm just going to mop that just a tiny bit. I don't want it real heavy. But we will be dry brushing on here with some coral blush as well to put some highlight in there. So and then I'm going to come back up here. I want to go around his head. Shade around that. And around his eyes. And around his face right there. And I also want to shade around his eye over here on this side. Make sure I get that in there. Just mop that out a little bit and let that dry. I'm going to go down to a little bit smaller of an angle brush. I'm going to do these bottom scallops. So I'm going to use a 3/8 inch angle. You use whatever brush you're comfortable with. And I'm trying to walk that color out really well because I don't want a really heavy float. There we go. I think that gives a nice separation between the top and the bottom of the umbrella. So I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. Just walk in a little bit of a float down here at the bottom. And then I am going to go up each side just with a narrow float, just real soft across that top. We're going to highlight there as well, but I just think it needed just a little bit of shading. So I'm doing the same thing on the opposite side. And I hope you can see that just gives it some definition and some makes it dimension where you can tell that it's not just flat. It's not just a flat umbrella, that we've added some dimension to that. Okay, so now I'm going to try to lower my camera just a little bit, because I don't think that, I think it's awful high up, so let me just see what I can do here. Get you all in here a little bit closer, hopefully. And then I stay in focus, stay within my camera range there, so that you get a good picture. I don't have a real big spot that I work in, so I'm just trying to move some of my paints back so that I get the whole picture for you all. Okay, I think that's better. I think you can see a little bit better. So I'm pretty happy with my shading on my frog. I don't think that I want to change anything there. Like I said, we are going to dry brush some on the umbrella with some coral blush. And so I think that we'll do that next. Then we'll be ready to put our splashes in. And just a reminder, I do have the line work for the wording enclosed in the packet. I just did not, I did this one on a smaller surface. The original, and I'm going to show the original to you again. The original is done on an 8x10 cradle board. And also, even though I don't have my splashes in on this one, they are on the pattern, so you'll have those drawn in as well. I did not do anything as far as drawing in for the raindrops. You can put as many or as few as you like. I think I got a little bit too many maybe on my original here, but this is an 8x10 cradle board that I did the original on. And so on the one that I'm painting on today for the recording is an 8x8, and so I didn't have room for the wording, but I will go over the wording, the lettering, wording, whatever you want to call it, in a separate video and record that. I used a paint pen on my original, but I am not good with paint pens. I think that I am better at lettering with a paintbrush than I am with the paint pens, so that's what I will be showing you. Okay, so I have coral blush out on my palette. I'm taking a number 10 dry brush, and this is one of Chris Hoy's dry brushes, and I really like these brushes. So I'm going to dip that into my paint and swirl it around on my palette. And then once I get that worked in, come over here to a dry spot on my paper towel and just work most of that paint out. And then I want to come in here and add some highlight here in the center of the umbrella. It sounds like I'm scrubbing really hard, but I'm not. It's just on that board, it sounds like that. So I'm reloading my brush again, and then coming over to my, again to my dry paper towel, spot on my dry paper towel. And up here at the top, want a pretty good highlight in there. So I'm just working that into those sections in that top. Get that dry brush, that coral blush in there. And even though it is a dry brush, that is damp. So I'm going to let that dry for a little bit. And while I just have a little bit of that coral blush in my dry brush, I'm going to put a little on his cheeks. Now, I did not do that in the original, but I just think it'd be cute to add a little bit of that coral blush right here. Just a light tint on his cheeks. So you can see what that looks like. I think that coral blush is such a pretty color for cheeks. So there, we got that on there. And then I'm going to put a little bit more on my brush, swirl it around on my palette paper, and then wipe it off on my paper towel. And I just want to come in here in the middle on the lower edge here, and just, I went back up into the top part there, but I'm just trying to, in the middle, right down here on the bottom, just a little bit of that coral blush in there. Just to add a little highlight. And then if you think your umbrella needs more highlight, and if you want to use something else besides the coral blush, you can add some white if you want it even brighter. But I don't know, I'm pretty happy with the coral blush. So just getting that across the top, and worked a little bit more down into that middle. There we go. Okay, so and I'm going to clean my brush real quick, my dry brush, and I'm just going to use some hand sanitizer in case I want to use it for some more dry brushing. It'll be ready because I've just cleaned it with hand sanitizer, and so the alcohol in that hand sanitizer will help that to dry real quick, where if I put it in my water bucket, it would take it longer to dry. And I'm just working that hand sanitizer in there. And then I'm going to a dry towel. And I just have an old terry hand towel that I'm wiping that brush out on. Just get that off of my mat there. Okay, so we still need to put the highlight in his eyes, a highlight on the umbrella handle and up here at the top. And then we're going to start on our splashes. Now, if you think your background is too dark, you may want to dry brush some baby blue in there, or Provence Sky. But I think mine's going to be okay once I get my once I get all of the petals and everything in. One thing, while we still have that coral blush out on our palette, I do want to take a liner brush, get that coral blush, and I'm just going to go around the top of those boots. Just a little highlight at the very top. Just like that. And once that dries, we may need to add a second coat. I really like the coral blush in the cheeks. Like I said, I didn't do that in my original. Okay, so now we want to get out some white. And I used, is it called Snow White? Yeah. I used the Whitest White, or whatever that Deco Art has. And that's what I'm using to highlight on my I'm going to put the highlight in his eyes and the highlight on the handle of the umbrella. So I want to do that. And I didn't put my pattern on for this. If you want to put your pattern on, feel free to do so. So on that umbrella, just a little highlight. And I'm just using a 0 squirrel rigger for this, a Dynasty squirrel rigger. I love those riggers from Dynasty. And I'm just going to put I want to make sure that I've kind of not got that real heavy on there. So I just swiped on my paper towel in a dry spot, just swiped my brush this way and then back that way. A little highlight right here. It's almost like a dry brush. And then a little highlight here coming down that handle. And then around the curve of the handle. And then up here on the crook of the handle. Put a little highlight there. And like I said, it's almost like a dry brush because I just put that paint on and just swiped it off. And then up here at the top, I'm just going to highlight in there in the center just a little bit on that little, I don't even know what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. Then I'm going to take my stylus and I'm going to load that in the white and put highlights in his eyes on that green. So I'm going to put at 12 o'clock. Both eyes. So I think you can see that. And then I'm going to put a little dot at, about, I guess, 7 o'clock. A little bit smaller. I got that one a little bit big, but it'll be okay. Just so he has some bright little eyes there. So you can see those. Now I'm going to be working on my puddle down here where he is playing in the puddle, jumping in the puddle. So and the splashes. So I'm going to get some. Let's see. I'm going to get some baby blue and sapphire on my palette. And we may use a little bit of that white as well. Now, I like to use an angle brush for this. And I'm going to use I'm using a 1/2 inch angle. Some people will use a flat brush. Just whatever you're most comfortable with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip into this sapphire first and get that just on the point of my angle brush, the toe. And I want to kind of walk that out a little bit. I don't want it real dark, but I don't want it real light either. And I want water in my brush, but I don't want it soupy. And then right here, I'm going to start over here on this side, and I just want to come out. And that is not going to be dark enough, I don't think. I don't think you can see that. So I'm going to well, maybe when it dries and we put the other colors in. Let me see how it looks here in a minute. But I just turn my brush this way and then just kind of make a little, just wiggle it back and forth to get that, some action there going for the water's edge. You know how it would be running out when it's raining. It's not to make a puddle. And there'd be a little here in this area. And you can make as much as little as you want. I'm going to come out just a little bit more here and around the bottom just a little bit. And on this side, I just flip my brush over and just, like I said, I just kind of work my brush back and forth and just put the little like puddle in there. So I hope you can see that. I'm getting some shadows because it is getting later in the afternoon here. I'm going to turn a light on, see another light, to see if that will help. So let me get that. Help you to see a little better. Hopefully that'll help and it's not too much light. And if you can see down here at the bottom where I have put my puddles in, and I just used the sapphire blue so far. So next I'm going to get the baby blue, and again I'm going to use my angle brush and just tip the toe of that angle brush into that baby blue, work it out, walk it out, work it into my brush, and then I'm going to come on the outside of these. Well, in some places I'll come on the outside of the petal marks and some on the inside, and just the same thing, just use that motion just to create a back and forth motion, just to create, you know, like some movement in that water, that puddle. And it doesn't take a whole lot. And you can put it over top of some of your sapphire blue if you want to make that show up more. And then I just flip my brush over on the other side when I want to paint it over there. So that's where I've put some of the baby blue in. And now I'm just going to get a little bit of white. I didn't clean my brush. I'm just going to get a little bit of white with that baby blue. Just kind of double load that brush, tipped into my white, tipped into my baby blue. Already had some baby blue in there just to get a little bit lighter color. And you can put as much water or not as much water, you know, whatever you like on your picture. So I think you can see where I've just added another shade with that baby blue mixed with that white just to kind of bring that and help it to show up. So I think that looks like a puddle. So now I'm going to start on my water that's splashing out, and I'm going to start with the baby blue. So loading that on the tip of my brush. And then you're just kind of making like a, almost like a C stroke. Just up. Oh, that's not what I wanted. That wasn't a very good one. Start over here on this side. And I'm just going to raise this up and hopefully I can get this on there. And just, it's almost like a little comma stroke, or just like a little hook kind of, just to show that there's some water that's splashing out in there. And I'm going to put some here in the center as well. So I'm going to go this way, just turn my brush over, and one up there, and turn my brush back the other way, and just come in and put one there. There's, I think, one out from the booth there. And they don't have to be perfect. They, you know, you just want splashes showing. So I think that you can see those. And I think that I have enough on there. My board is an 8x8, so it is a little bit smaller. I am going to get just a little bit of white into my baby blue. Just on the toe of that brush. I'm going to let this dry for just a moment. Roger. Okay, I'm going to shut my door. And I may come back and decide to put some more defined, oh, sorry for shaking the table, some more defined splashes in there. I'm not really sure right now, but I'm going to start adding some raindrops. And you just do those pretty much the same way as you did your splashes, or at least that's the way I did them. Just kind of a little teardrop. And you may not want them that big, or you may want them bigger. Just kind of a little teardrop shape. And I had quite a few in my other, my original, so I don't think I'm going to put as many in this one. And you can put sapphire blue, you can put the baby blue, you can put the baby blue with the white, or sapphire mixed with baby blue. Whatever you want to get to just add some, you know, a little bit different shading or hue or color, even though it's your same colors, just using them in a different. So my background, I should have probably dry brushed some lighter blue in there because it's pretty dark, but like I said, I don't want to add, and I'm going to add some on my umbrella, splashing down on the umbrella, or dripping down off the umbrella. But I don't want to put as many in here as I did on my original. I have quite a few, and I don't know if it's too many or. And then there would be, you know, a couple in here falling and down around that handle. So I think that's all the raindrops I'm going to put in. I am going to go back down to my puddle a little bit and get some blue, or get some white, I mean. I didn't clean my brush, so I've got some of that sapphire blue in there, a little white. And I want to, I think I want to just enhance down here in my puddle a little bit. So I think right here, over on this side, it could stand to be just a little lighter maybe. And just under this boot here, a little lighter. So just adding just that little bit there. And then I think that's enough. Maybe just a little bit more on some of my splashes, just so they show up a little better. So I'm pretty happy with that. I got a couple right here on my umbrella that don't really show much, so I might just highlight them a little bit. So I think that looks good. I think I'm pretty happy with my splashes and with my puddles down here. So I'm going to wash that brush. I'm going to get, I did his mouth in soft black, the same as, you know, what we had done his eyes and the umbrella handle in. So I'm going to get a little bit of that soft black out. And I just did a big smile because I think he's a happy little fella, jumping and splashing in the rain, in the puddles. Like I said, rainy day fun. So just a little bit of that black out, and I'm just going to use a liner to put his mouth on, and I'm just going to use this Zero Dynasty Squirrel Rigger. So I'm getting that wet, just getting my paint. I don't want my paint real soupy, but I do want it where it'll flow off my brush nice. So I have added some water to that. Make sure there's no water on the ferrule so that it doesn't drip down into my mouth. And like I said, I just did a big grin from cheek to cheek, and now I didn't add any any nostrils or anything. You could do that. You could add some nostrils, just maybe a couple little dashes like that. I don't really know, but I didn't really care for them, so I'm going to take that off. But you know, everybody's different. You may want some on yours. So, but as you can see, that mouth is just a line from cheek to cheek, and then his little corner where he's smiling. I just wanted a big smile for him. So I'm going to paint that in right now. I'm going to turn my board so I can pull towards me. I'm going to start over here on the right cheek and pull over to my left cheek, and then just put that little, I don't know if dimples or, and so I think that looks real cute. I really like the coral blush on the cheeks. So that pretty much finishes this little guy up. I'm going to, like I said, I'll have the lettering. I will do that in a separate video and get that posted. And I hope that you enjoy painting rainy day fun. And I think that it's just a really cute little design. I think I never have painted a frog before, so this was the first one, and I'm just real happy with the way he turned out. I hope that you enjoyed it, and that you like your splashes, and just hope that you enjoyed painting along, and I will see you all soon, and hope that you have a great month in April. Bye now.